So let's get into today's episode. Like I said, a lot to get into. Training camp is going to be getting underway. And really, let's talk about some key storylines that I'll be looking for heading into training camp and the preseason kind of all, going to shake out in the next few weeks here. So first and foremost, let's talk offensive line. And I think the one thing that is up in the air as a question mark is who is going to start at right guard. Now, if I had to bet on it, I think it would be Greg Van Roten, and I think at the end of the day, he wins the job. But does someone like Cam Clark come out of nowhere and step up? Is Alex Lewis someone who they see as a starter? I mean, he played pretty well in 2019. Is he going to be the guy in 2021? I bet probably not. I'm surprised he hasn't been cut already. You have Dan Feeney, who, while has an awesome mullet, great mustache, is not starting material. And that's probably it for that right guard spot. But if I had to bet on the likelihood of who that is going to be, I would imagine it's going to be the Long Island native, Greg Van Roten. I think he wins the job, and I fully anticipate it to be from left to right. Becton, Elijah Vera Tucker, Connor McGovern, who I think will be much better this year, Greg Van Roten, and Morgan Moses at right tackle. George Fant, I almost said Greg Fant. George Fant coming off the bench and playing swing tackle, I think is a good role for him. He's an expensive swing tackle, but I think he's going to be good in that role, and maybe even a little bit of tight end, not going out and catching as a tight end, but as a blocking tight end, something he did in Seattle for a long time. Cornerback room is the next thing that I'm looking at, number 2 on my list. How does that shake out? We know for the most part that Bryce Hall is going to be a starter. Other than that, way up in the air. Bless Austin could be a starter. He could be cut. Like, that is the variant on these guys. Do I think he's going to get cut? No. I wouldn't necessarily bet on it, but it's pretty much the point I wanted to make is wide open. Bless Austin could be the guy. Isaiah Dunn, who they signed as an undrafted free agent, could be the guy. Maybe it's one of the 2 guys they drafted who's most likely going to be a corner in Pinnock and Eccles, maybe Michael Carter, the second place slot. That could be a slot option. Or maybe you have Javelin Guidry play in the slot. Eccles can move inside with his lack of size and speed, maybe. So there's so many storylines in that position to begin with, and it doesn't look like they're going to add a veteran. Like, Steven Nelson just went and signed with the Eagles, I believe, for a 1-year deal, $4 million. Not too much over there, but how that room factors out and what really happens at that cornerback room, I think is going to be a huge storyline and something that I'll absolutely be looking for this training camp and this, ramp up period. Then I have Elijah Moore, because I think he is going to be a training camp darling. I really think he's going to be talked about a ton, and I get it. And there's a good reason for it, because he's a really good player. But at the same time, does that push maybe a Jamison Crowder off the roster? And what do I necessarily mean by off the roster? Not that he's going to be cut or anything like that, but do you then flip him for a mid-round draft pick for a needy team like, let's say, the Saints, who's going to be without Michael Thomas for a while? Or maybe there's another injury around the league. Or maybe you keep him. Like, again, I'm not opposed to keeping him on this roster, even with Elijah Moore here, but I think we see a lot of Moore in training camp. I think we see a lot of him in the preseason. And he's a dynamic player, a player the Jets haven't had something like that in a very long time. So it's easy to fall in love with his skill set. So I think with his just natural and raw ability, he's going to be someone who's talked about a lot in training camp, and I can't wait to see more of him. Chris Herndon, is he going to start at tight end? This is going to be Croft. What the heck are they going to do at the tight end position? I think is something that we're going to need to take a look at, just because it's so much up in the air. Croft a few years ago was better as a receiver, now more of a blocking tight end. Herndon really flashed in his rookie year a few years ago, but hasn't done much of anything the last 2 years. Maybe this is finally the year post-Gase. That's what I'm hoping for. I think the talent is there. We just got to see if he puts his head into it. And yeah, he fumbles a little bit, but we'll see if he's able to turn around post-Gase. He is one of the guys on the roster that I bet would have the best chance to do it. In terms of the skill position players, like, I don't necessarily anticipate LaMichael Pirine turning into an absolute star. I don't think Jamison Crowder is going to the next level. Mims, I thought he performed well actually with Gase, so I don't think that he really applies to that. Ty Johnson maybe could be another one. I think that's fair. Ty Johnson and Chris Herndon stock up with this system. I think that's probably pretty fair. And my last thing that I'm going to be looking at, we're going to be looking at a ton really, but the last thing I wanted to talk about at the start here is if they'll need a backup quarterback or not. And I think right now, we're operating on the assumption that Zach Wilson's going to get signed and be here pretty soon, which I think is, going to happen in the next couple of days here. But James Morgan and Mike White are the other quarterbacks on the roster. So I think we'll see early in the preseason if the Jets are going to need to bring in a veteran backup here. I'd feel a lot more comfortable with that. Maybe they feel comfortable with James Morgan. Don't know, but we'll find out in training camp and the first couple of preseason games who the Jets' backup quarterback is going to be and if they need a backup. So a lot to look forward to there.